My name is Francis and I'm a Redemptorist. I've been a priest for not more than 2 years. I'm going to be 2 years ordained in September. I stopped catechism at primary 3 after my Holy Communion. And we stopped going to church for a while. And later on, about 16, around my O-levels, something told me, or just within myself, I don't know what happened, but I just felt like I wanted to complete the sacraments and have my confirmation done. And so my sister was doing RCIA as well, and she just wanted to rejourney in the faith. So I joined her at St. Teresa's, my parish, and for 1 year we went through RCIA so that I could get confirmed after. And during that period, I met some youth. They were also part of the RCIA, and they got me involved with the youth ministry. And from there, it grew my faith. I learned to pray and developed a deep relationship with God. And it was during around the same time that suddenly I felt the stirring to join the priesthood. Like, what if God called me to be a priest? And it started my discernment for my vocation. It was only later, when I was in Poly, that a friend suggested that I try out the Redemptorists. I had not known them at the time, but very naturally, you would say God would lead me to this place, and I would join the Redemptorist mission team and work as a youth coordinator. And there, you could say, develop my further discernment in terms of being a religious as a Redemptorist. And after 2 years of working with the Redemptorists, I left and I did some freelance design work for about a year. And during that time, I guess God made it clear as to that it was a time to sort of try this out. And so I did, and here I am. My childhood, they did ask me to join the altar service when I was just after my Holy Communion, but I completely refused. No way. So I was not involved in church ministry at all. In terms of being involved in the church, we just weekly masses. My parents would bring us to confession every now and then. But my grandparents were very religious people. They prayed the rosary a lot. That's what I remember. We prayed as a family. When my grandparents were still alive, we would pray before the altar. And after my grandparents passed away, my mom sort of would always have this little note card that she would put under something, and every night we'd go there and we sort of take it out and say the prayer before we sleep. So religiously, in terms of prayer, those would be my recollections of perhaps the seeds of faith. But I would say that also a lot of it has to do with the prayers of my grandparents and my mom for the family, that perhaps has helped us to be open to God, or allow God to sort of draw us to Himself, perhaps. Yeah. I would consider it a gift. When I got ordained, or just before that, I was still struggling with trying to see it as a gift. I just felt like, a lot was being asked of me. And I would not have chosen it for myself, but really I'm responding to someone. I'm responding to a call, so to speak. And I felt because I love this person, I would do it. But to see it as a gift, it's only come perhaps now, because this vocation really is, as it says, it calls me to holiness. It really stretches my capacity to love, and I feel like it is making me a better person. It is bringing out the best in me, challenging me in ways that I would not allow myself to be challenged if I was not here. Yeah. So it's a gift. When I was first ordained, or even before that, as I was preparing myself for ordination, really it's a burden. And that's why it was a bittersweet moment at my ordination, and It was a very, very sacred moment when I prayed before Our Lady, because I think if you see the photos, you see some friends would tell me and then they caught it exactly, the part where the hope that I had, yet at the same time the burden that I felt. And it hasn't changed in the sense that it is a struggle to meet all the demands. I mean, if you allow, you have absolutely no time for yourself, and you will be stretched beyond your capacity, even in an unhealthy way. And so there must be a balance between space for prayer and space for self, while meeting all the needs and responsibilities, and to be able to draw boundaries, because without those boundaries, and to know where my responsibility primarily lies is very important. Otherwise, I'll be all over the shop, and I'll burn out. And I think at a certain stage toward my first year, I really started to feel it. But because I think at an earlier stage in my youth, I did experience burnout before, so I saw it coming, and so I really stopped everything for a while, and I reprioritized. But very easily, you just go back into the same mode, and so it's always going back to the discipline of going back to what sustains you. And so when it comes to the ministry, I mean, you have sick calls, people who will be asking you confessions at odd hours. On Saturdays, our ministry is quite busy. We can be busy the whole day. And then on top of that, I find it a priority to spend time with the youth. And so when I'm not marked for duty, I try to give some time to just being with the young people and spending time with them, wasting time with them. And so that is also takes a lot. But in the process of doing all this, I find joy, I find meaning. I start to see the effects of what I'm doing, and then it's worthwhile. Even just to see some changes in people, some difference that you're making to their lives, and it's worthwhile. And so that's when the burden sort of fades into the background, and I do what I do willingly. It's not because somebody forces me to do it, or it's because it's my job. In a way, I do it willingly. I could easily choose to do less if I wanted to, but the value of it makes me want to continue doing it. And it's not a one-sided thing. It's something mutual, because in the process, while I see the change in them, I'm affirmed by changes in people. I'm also aware of how it changes me and how it makes me a better person. And how to use my time wisely and well. So in that way, it's been mutual, and that's why I think I can come to say that even just all those barely 2 years, it's starting to look more like a gift. I think we'll always be misunderstood. No matter what we do, how well we do something, or sometimes when we just steal time for ourselves, which is much needed, it can be misunderstood, because nobody is able to look at it from where we are standing. And so from whatever perspective they're standing, the moment we may say no, it is taken like we're not being available, for example. And so it's very tricky. There are moments that we are also unable to make certain decisions to do certain things, even if we can, because there's certain protocol which comes with any kind of institution. When we give an answer that's seemingly unfavorable, people can get very upset and misunderstand us. So sometimes, no matter what we do, people get the wrong idea. People don't seem to be able to understand why we do certain things and where we're coming from. And so one of the challenges is to be able to know how to let them out easy, so to speak, and to explain to them exactly why. And the other part would be to learn to accept and not to try to defend ourselves, just to accept that we are misunderstood and it's fine, that I don't need to try to make you understand, make them understand as well. So, on the one hand, we try to where we can, but to realize that there are times when we just have to accept being misunderstood and live with that, and to be okay with that within internally, to always check our conscience, to know that whenever we do something, it is always in good conscience. Yeah, you could say it's like innocent suffering. The mention of Mary creates a warm, fuzzy feeling in me every time I talk about her. But I don't think it was always as such. And as any relationship, it grows over time. I felt special to her because I share a special day with her. So my birthday falls on the Immaculate Conception. And so that has always made me have a connection with her, even if it was just on an intellectual level. But I do know that my grandparents have a very strong devotion to Mary. And in some way or other, a couple of us in the family also have certain links with Our Lady. So when I joined the congregation, it's not so much about Mary, but in the process of being part of the congregation and, in the process of my prayer life, I felt God invite me to deepen my relationship with her, and I have struggled with that for a long time. Even in terms of praying the rosary and all that, we never really prayed that as a family, so I never really had the discipline. So it was a long journey towards being able to pray the rosary to begin with. I would say that in one of my during my formation in Sri Lanka, I was there for about 9 months. Before every Mass, they would keep reciting the rosary in Tamil. And because I had a lot more time, I was also able to pray the rosary on my own. And I think there was sort of a point in my life where I made a breakthrough with the rosary and how it slowly started to grow, and how Mary started to have a bigger part in my life. Through the rosary, I think my affection for Our Lady grew. Over time, I gave a talk here and there, and in my process of wanting to get to know a bit more about Mary and my own reflections on her, I started to see how she's more and more such a necessary figure, an essential aspect of my faith, that almost without her, I will not be able to survive. We don't even talk about the priesthood or my religious life. My own Christian faith will not be sustained if I do not have her as part of that journey. And so she's become a very fundamental part of my journey. And I see that for a fact, because every time I do turn to her and I turn to the rosary and I pray, I know very clearly that she is behind me. A lot of the things that I wouldn't be able to do, I'm able to do because of her. It's hard to explain, but it's just that connection, and for such a long time, when you talk about Mary, and it's hard to differentiate in terms of presence, when is it the presence of God, when is it the presence of Our Lady, and and all that kind of thing. But over time, somehow, this ability to sense Our Lady's presence, is wonderful, and I know for a fact, more than before, that God is sort of inviting me to continue to deepen my journey, my relationship with her, and that in the end, it is she who is going to sustain me and help me to be faithful to God. It's not something that I'll do on my own. It's not that God cannot do that directly for me, but it's just that He has chosen her as the vessel for that to happen. That's how important she is now in my faith life. And I'm sure it'll continue to grow and take a different, deepen and take a different turn as time goes by. But that's where it is at the moment. Something that I recently acknowledged or that has sort of surfaced, and this is something that I feel new for me. In moments where ministry becomes so demanding that I feel like even prayer is a luxury that I cannot afford, I'm just like there's so many things to do. In that moment, somehow I feel there's always someone who is praying for me that helps me to get through that particular moment. That sort of somebody's prayers is lifting me and carrying me in order to get by to the point, and just get through this moment, so that I can finally go back to my prayer and sustain myself and find strength or energy and restore myself in God. But in those moments where I cannot carry myself anymore, somehow I sense that God or Our Lady has called on somebody outside, somebody else to say a prayer for me and to help me to just get through that moment. And very often after that particular difficult period, and everything has sort of settled down, so to speak, I get a text from someone saying, "Oh, I said a prayer for you here," or "I said the rosary for you," and it's just an affirmation of what I felt, that somebody's prayers has carried me through a particular dark moment or trying moment, and I can't help but feel that it's part of Our Lady's promise to me that she will see me through and she'll take care of me, and it just highlights that connection and the importance of the community and the power of prayer that runs through the entire community of faith of all peoples. That it's really prayer that sustains us. If in moments where we can't pray for ourselves, then we really rely on the prayers of others. And so even for myself, in whatever way I can, when people ask me to pray for them, I try not to take it for granted, and I take it to heart, and I offer them a prayer because of my own experience of what prayer is doing for me, even if I can't quantify it or explain it. But I know that it is prayer that is carrying me through, even if it's not my own. I would always go down to the basics, which is prayer. Over and above that, of course, we need hands to help us with our ministry. Very often, when we join the priesthood or religious life, it's almost like it's all on us. We have got to do the work and serve the people. But I learned in this 1 year plus of ministry that we can't do it on our own, and we need lay people to be very much involved in the ministry that is our ministry. And while perhaps as a Redemptorists we might have a particular charism and way that we share the faith with other people, it is not ours. It's a gift that's been given to us to share with people, to share in that charism and minister to people, whether it is prayer or through the labor of love, of sacrifices that they make in our ministry together. It is they who carry us and help us to move forward and to sustain our ministry. We are just sort of a symbol, a figurehead to give people, to share this mission with them, but really when you look at it, it's the lay people who are the driving force of the church. they feel drawn towards ministry. They feel more willing to give their time and energy. Maybe it's because they feel like we've sacrificed a lot, and so they're willing to also chip in and have a share in that. Yeah, the lay people have shown me that it's their prayer and it's their hands and their labor of love is what moves mountains, not us. I think everybody is unique. Even in whatever I do, I don't think it's so much about what I say or even what image I present. I think the most important is who I am and being myself. And I think the more comfortable I am in my own skin, the more true I am to myself, then the more people can see God in me. It's not about, being pious or looking holy. It's just being truly who I am. And that's why for me, it's about presence. The more I can be truly present to a person and to be truly myself with somebody, the more I think that there is God between us. And I can see God in the other, and the other can see God in me. So for me, well, of course, there are many things I would like to do. I've got a lot of vision and dreams about what I would like to see, what I think needs to be done. But I think if none of it gets done, it's fine by me. What's more important is that I'm true to myself and true to my person, and that I believe in so doing, God somehow reveals himself.